For over 3 decades, Johnny Carson was America's nightly companion, inviting viewers into his world of laughter, celebrity, and entertainment. But beyond the cameras, behind the bright lights and audience applause, Carson witnessed a Hollywood that the public could barely imagine. A world where talent often took a back seat to strategic relationships, and fame sometimes demanded compromises that most would find unthinkable. While Johnny's on-air charm masked it, in private, he became the ultimate confidant to Hollywood's elite. Stars who radiated glamour, innocence, or invincibility in public often revealed a very different story when the microphones were off. Behind closed doors, the myths carefully constructed by studios unraveled, exposing a system where ambition, beauty, and sex intersected in ways the world rarely saw. Tonight, we pull back the curtain to reveal the truths Johnny Carson learned about 8 Golden Age stars, the hidden realities behind their fame, and the cost of the paths they took to get there. 1. Marilyn Monroe. From vulnerable starlet to calculated icon. Before she was the worldwide icon we now remember, Marilyn Monroe was a struggling actress desperate for a break. America saw her as the effervescent blonde bombshell, glamorous, flirtatious, and seemingly destined for stardom. But those who knew her, and Carson especially, understood that Monroe's rise was anything but accidental. According to those close to Carson, every major step in Monroe's early career was accompanied by private arrangements with powerful men, photographers, agents, studio executives, all wielding influence over who would get roles. These were not mere romances. They were strategic moves in a system where sexual availability often outweighed talent. Carson reportedly described her rise as a blend of exploitation and cunning. While the system sought to use her, Monroe gradually learned to use it to her advantage. Monroe's story fascinated Carson because it revealed a complex duality. She was simultaneously a victim of Hollywood's predatory practices and an active participant in her own career advancement. By the time she gained real power in Hollywood, the line between performance and authenticity had blurred, leaving her both empowered and tragically constrained by the system that had elevated her. 2. Joan Crawford, mastering the game of power. Few Hollywood transformations impress Carson as much as Joan Crawford's ascent from impoverished factory worker to Academy Award-winning superstar, and even beyond into corporate influence. While many actresses fell prey to exploitation, Crawford reportedly approached the system with clear-eyed strategy, forming alliances that extended beyond men to include influential women who controlled access to directors and opportunities. Carson observed that Crawford played chess while everyone else played checkers. She kept meticulous mental notes of which relationships advanced her career and which did not, using sexual relationships as tools rather than surrendering to them blindly. Her later marriage to Pepsi CEO Alfred Steele was the culmination of a long-term strategy to maintain influence even as Hollywood's power shifted around her. In Crawford's story, Carson saw the ultimate Hollywood survivor, a woman who understood the rules, accepted them, and used them to her advantage without allowing herself to be broken. Her narrative was a study in pragmatism, ambition, and emotional detachment, a blueprint for navigating a system designed to exploit. 3. Rock Hudson, the fabricated masculine ideal. Rock Hudson, Hollywood's epitome of heterosexual masculinity, was hiding one of the industry's deepest secrets. He was gay. To maintain his stardom in the 1950s and 60s, Hudson had to live a life of constant deception orchestrated by agents and studio executives to protect his marketability. Arranged dates, a sham marriage, and fabricated romances with female co-stars were all part of a carefully constructed persona. Carson was deeply intrigued by Hudson's situation, recognizing the tragic nature of a life lived entirely as a performance. While audiences saw a heartthrob, Hudson navigated a world of private compromises, submitting to exploitation as the price of opportunity. Studio heads, producers, co-stars, and journalists all played a part in sustaining the fiction. The public image was immaculate, but the cost to Hudson's personal freedom and authenticity was enormous. Carson reportedly regarded Hudson's story as one of the most poignant illustrations of Hollywood's double standards and the human cost of fame. 4. Lana Turner, strategic romance as career currency. Lana Turner's tumultuous public life, 7 marriages, shocking scandals, and high-profile romances only hinted at the calculated nature of her career. Carson's private conversations revealed that Turner's relationships were often strategically aligned with her professional ambitions. Early on, she learned to leverage romantic entanglements to secure better roles, gain influence within studios, and navigate Hollywood's male-dominated power structures. Carson admired Turner's ability to transform what began as exploitation into a form of agency. She understood that the studio system operated on a mix of talent, beauty, and strategic positioning. Turner's relationships with directors, co-stars, and executives were not merely personal, but professional moves within a complex game. By mastering this reality, she maintained control over her career in an environment that offered women very few options for genuine autonomy. 5. Rita Hayworth, dancing to a studio's tune. Rita Hayworth's transformation from Margarita Canino to Hollywood's love goddess was marked by both brilliance and tragedy. Behind the glamorous screen persona was a reality controlled by studio head Harry Kahn, whose influence extended to every facet of her life, from her appearance to her relationships. Carson reportedly described Hayworth's life as one of extreme control, with every professional opportunity and personal choice subject to the approval of Kahn. He even allegedly installed surveillance in her home to ensure compliance. In private conversations, Carson expressed his dismay at how much of her life was dictated by someone else. Hayworth's story epitomized the oppressive power of the studio system, and Carson recognized her as one of Hollywood's most tragic figures. Adored on screen but stripped of personal autonomy off it. 6. Tyrone Power, pragmatic deals behind the spotlight. Tyrone Power was the quintessential matinee idol, beloved by audiences for his charm and charisma. Yet Carson's private insights revealed that Power's ascent involved strategic arrangements with both men and women in the industry. Unlike Rock Hudson, who had to hide his sexuality entirely, Power negotiated private freedoms with studio approval while maintaining his public heterosexual image. These private arrangements, sometimes euphemistically referred to as auditions, helped Power secure better roles and favorable treatment without compromising the carefully crafted persona audiences adored. Carson admired Power's ability to navigate such treacherous waters, balancing studio demands, personal inclinations, and professional ambition in a world with few viable options for actors outside conventional norms. 7. Ava Gardner, honest amidst illusion. Ava Gardner was Hollywood's dangerously honest star. Unlike many of her peers, Gardner never pretended that her success was purely a product of talent. In private, she confessed to Carson that she might not have been the strongest actress, but she knew how to navigate Hollywood's power dynamics. Her relationships with men such as Mickey Rooney, Howard Hughes, and Frank Sinatra were strategic as much as romantic, reflecting an understanding of how influence and proximity to power could shape her career. Carson admired her pragmatism and self-awareness, noting that she maintained authenticity in an industry built on illusion. Gardner's candor made her both fascinating and threatening to a studio system that preferred its stars to maintain a myth of meritocracy. 8. Clark Gable, the Reluctant Apprentice. Clark Gable, Hollywood's ultimate leading man, achieved legendary status on screen, but his early career involved complex compromises. According to Carson, Gable's initial success was facilitated by a combination of talent and strategic relationships with influential industry figures, including a powerful female producer who accelerated his access to important roles. Gable's story was one of growth and reinvention. Once he attained genuine stardom, he distanced himself from the early compromises, emphasizing his talent and audience appeal. Carson saw Gable as someone who had learned to navigate the system without being defined by it, using early relationships as stepping stones rather than permanent obligations. His journey reflected the harsh realities of Hollywood. Even immense talent could not guarantee success without strategic maneuvering. Johnny Carson's unique position allowed him to see Hollywood in its rawest form, a world where talent, beauty, and ambition were inseparably intertwined with compromise, exploitation, and strategic alliances. From Marilyn Monroe's calculated ascent to Ava Gardner's candid realism, and from Crawford's meticulous career management to Gable's careful navigation of early opportunities, the truths Carson witnessed reveal a stark reality. Hollywood's golden age was glamorous on the surface, but often ruthless beneath. These stories are not just scandalous anecdotes. They are reflections on human ambition, agency, and survival in an industry that rewarded ingenuity as much as it exploited vulnerability. Carson understood the complexity of these narratives, recognizing the brilliance, resilience, and sometimes tragic cost that defined the lives of Hollywood's legendary stars. By peeling back the veil of fame, Carson gave the world a rare glimpse of the human realities behind the icons. In doing so, he preserved an intimate history of Hollywood's golden era, revealing that success was rarely just about talent. It was about survival, strategy, and the delicate balance between compromise and control.